up, sports fans? Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So happy and excited to be joining with all of you guys here live from Denver, Colorado. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show. Wherever and however you may be watching and listening, thanks for making us part of your day. A couple minutes from now, Denver Sports Radio host Josh Dover is going to be joining us. We're going to be talking everything Denver sports, Broncos, Nuggets, the Avs, as we're basically already on Olympic mode right now. Men's hockey teams already have started here this week. Really excited for Team USA tomorrow and Team Canada. So it is going to be a lot of fun. Plus, our top 10 NFL teams, head coaching hires, the jury's out. This is where I believe these teams will rank amongst hires, because I think there's some interesting ones. So don't miss out here on the show. Alrighty, folks. Well, as we've said, we are post Super Bowl with the Seahawks now crowned as champions. And they also ended up celebrating their championship victory. And again, there's a lot of things to think about with this team and what they've done tremendous. That was something other teams needed to figure out. So as we know, the young hot commodity, Mike Macdonald, really turned this organization around of what was post Pete Carroll. Now remember, Pete, when he took this job in Seattle, this was a team that the GM, John Snyder, for the last few years, and it was a different GM at the time, but they figured a lot of things out. They figured out their offensive line. They took a chance at quarterback. They found a lot of really good offensive weapons to put around, even in the run game. And they've also built together a really ferocious defense. Now, Pete Carroll inherited, and he also drafted up a bunch of smart guys, which was Richard Sherman, who San Francisco passed on, then Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Cliff Averill, Bruce Irvin, KJ Wright, and even Bobby Wagner. This team was unstoppable, and the offensive line was also really good. Russell Okung, Max Unger, these guys were unstoppable. In Seattle, they felt like they had an opportunity to build a dynasty. Now remember, they made it to 2 Super Bowls in a row. From 2013, where they dominated Denver, where Denver was playing their absolute best all season long. I mean, you were hearing the infamous Omaha audible call from Peyton Manning, and a lot of really good offensive players, and they were the best offensive team in the league. But that didn't showcase itself when they got to the Super Bowl against Seattle. And the Seahawks, they had a lot of really good guys up front to pressurize. That was their whole entire MO. You could not pass anything in the air. Neither were you protected on the offensive line when the pass rush was coming. But with Mike Macdonald, this is different, because Seattle, ever since they kind of turned the pages, because I remember watching this team when Mike Holmgren was the head coach, And Matt Hasselbeck, Sean Alexander, Deion Branch, Lofa Tatupu, Marcus Trufant. I remember seeing this team for years, and it always seemed like they were middle of the pack, competitive. They made it to a Super Bowl in 2005 when they lost to Pittsburgh on a crucial play. But they have never, after that, and they got Pete Carroll to be their head coach, they were the best. They changed unis from 2012 when they signed the deal with Nike, and they have been unstoppable since. They've been middle of the pack, dominant a few other years. I don't think I've ever seen this team go less than 6 wins, ever. And so Seattle, they've built something strong in this culture. So celebrating the Super Bowl today and really kind of understanding this culture, Seattle, they've been creeping. They feel a lot like, it's funny. I kind of use this reference, but they feel a lot like the boogeyman who's under your bed, right? He's there. He's lurking. He's right in the middle of everything. And then when it's time to scare a lot of teams, Seattle will do that. They'll scare a bunch of teams. They won a Super Bowl for the first time in 2013, scaring Denver. They've gone to now 4 Super Bowls in their entire existence as a franchise, and they've won 2 now. And by the way, had it not been for throwing the football and it getting picked off against Malcolm Butler, they would have won a 3rd. They would have had 3. But because social media is so just powerful as far as clicks and comments and likes, it threw them off their game. So Seattle would have had 3 total, but that wasn't ended up becoming the case. But I will say Seattle's a strong culture, and it's only going to continue to get stronger up from here. Mike Macdonald is the perfect culture-fitting coach that understands what Seattle's about. They took a chance at Sam Darnold. They've got 2 more years on this contract, and they're set. The only thing that they really have to understand is I don't think defense is going to be a problem to fix because you are going to lose a couple pieces. You're probably going to move on from Reek Woolen, which I can already see that after the crucial play before the Super Bowl. And you also have Kenneth Walker, who is going to be a free agent. You got a couple pieces you really have to think about in this offseason. But Seattle, I think they're going to figure that out. Defensively, I don't see that being a problem. Now, if Kenneth Walker walks and he goes somewhere else, that might hurt a little more of the process because you got to get a running back to help out with Zach Charbonnet, who's coming back from a torn ACL. So you're going to need to get somebody in there to fill this in. And I feel like Kenneth Walker, he's worked out well for them. Rookie deal, now coming up with his first contract extension. I mean, it's well worth the pay. So Seattle, I think if I'm the GM from here, I'd be re-signing Kenneth Walker because I know what he's capable of and I know what he brings to the table, and it helps a lot with Zach Charbonnet with his return back. I like this more than anything else. Defensively, they can figure out a lot of guys there. They really can, because then they can get a pass rush. They can also get they can go and get themselves a corner or a safety if need be, but they've got great guys. They got Nick Emenwari. They got Devin Witherspoon. They got a lot of really good players up and into the secondary. That's not a problem for them to fix that up. And Mike Macdonald has a very good eye for finding secondaries. So I think this team is in good shape. But the NFC, as far as the Cowboys, everybody else, it's going to be really, really difficult. So I'm just thinking about this, and I'm going to be showing my top 10 teams as far as head coaching hires, but I was really thinking about New York today. And with John Harbaugh at the helm, we know John is a culture guy. So he brings in a couple of his really good, trustworthy guys in the building. And what I think about with this more than anything, the Giants need to get better as far as their offensive personnel from, their wide receivers. They got a really good run game. Jackson Dart looks to be a promising quarterback. And the offensive line, they've been very good on the pass defense, but they need to end up getting good at blocking and protecting for the run. So that's the one thing they have to focus on. Number 2 is defensively, I don't think you really have to have this many pass rushers. First of all, you got to have really good rotational guys because you got a power pass rush, a speedster pass rush, and you got basically it's very difficult if you have someone like a Myles Garrett who does everything. But that's hard to come by. That's 1 in a million. So the Giants, I feel like they got to move on from one of these guys because Dexter Lawrence up front, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Bobby Okereke. I mean, you got plenty of guys up front. And honestly, that's why I keep saying Kayvon Thibodeau, I don't even know if they are going to give him a contract extension, but you should be getting picks and capital just for that. If you can do that, you can give him somebody that you can honestly look at and say, okay, we got to figure out our secondary. Maybe we can get another linebacker, but we got to really fix up a little more on the offensive line because you want to strike when the iron is hot. The offensive line is getting better, but remember, no Evan Neal. You got to help out a little more with Andrew Thomas, but that's the focus they really have to figure out. But the Giants are actually going to be in prime spot. They'll double up their wins of what they had this past year. They'll be much better because the NFC outside of Seattle and a couple of other teams that you know, like the Rams. Now, Rod Havenstein, he just retired. You're going to need a right tackle. And then you brought in Cliff Kingsbury to be the offensive coordinator after Mike LaFleur took the Arizona job. So there are a lot of adjustments you really have to make. But I think the Giants, they can be in really good health, really good shape, and changing up the culture because that's the most important thing more than anything else. I mean, you got to figure that out one way or another. But I think with the Giants, this is a very good job. And again, I have my top 10 teams as far as coaching hires are concerned, because to me, I think this is a perfect prime capability where the Giants can double up their wins. And remember, you've got a new offensive coordinator in Washington now with Jaden Daniels. You've got a new offensive coordinator in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Who knows how that offense is going to look like now? And then as far as Dallas, they may potentially franchise tag George Pickens, but you're going to end up having to pay that contract too. So there are lots and lots of questions and answers for this team to double their wins, get better with their personnel, shape up the culture, and make it healthier than what it once was when you had all these coordinators after Tom Coughlin left. After the Super Bowl win, it went downhill from here. So you really have to fix this up. And John Harbaugh is the perfect guy to do it. And that's the part that I think more than anything else, it's perfect. I think the Giants will be much better. And I think for the NFC, it's just going to keep getting competitive year in and year out. Good stuff. We got a really good show here today. Josh Dover joining us, 104.3 Denver Sports. You guys hear him up and on the radio all the time here. If you live in Denver, talking about the Broncos, talking about the Nuggets, we got him right here around the corner. I'm excited to be talking a lot about just the overall with the team, with the Broncos and what the offseason is going to look like, and then currently with the state of the Denver Nuggets. I'm excited about that. Well, folks, as we said, the NFL season may have come to a close, but not so much for the offseason, though, because we got free agent signings, we've got the draft, and then, of course, our schedule breakouts come the time before the season starts up. But until then, the Olympics are going on strong. Go Team USA. They've been looking really good, and we're only going to keep getting better up from here on out here in Milan Cortina. And also, World Baseball Classic, the FIFA World Cup, NBA, NHL, everything's happening in 2026. And so to be prepared for that, check out Payday Fantasy for yourself. The go-to player pick'em app. Payday Fantasy, it's so much fun. I play it all the time. Download it, sign up with your mobile device through Google Play in the App Store. Now, few things to remember. When you sign up, free $5 entry just by utilizing our services. Also, 100% deposit match of up to $100 when you use the code SNAKE. Because I know you guys, there's love in the air, and I know how much you guys love and support the show. And so to share and express my love for all of you guys for supporting here on the show, use the promo code SNAKE at paydayfantasy.com and get paid with Payday Fantasy. That's all you got to do. Sign up, pick the player, pick the trajectory of what they are projected. Then sit back, relax, grab a drink, even make yourself some popcorn and get paid with Payday Fantasy.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Well, the Denver Broncos season may have come to a close, but that don't mean that the Denver Nuggets and, of course, the Colorado Avalanche, and their seasons have been going on strong. Of course, a little bit of a stint right now for the Avs, but it's good here in Denver. And so to join us, you hear him all the time on your radios if you're in the Denver area on Denver Sports 104.3. Josh Dover comes by. We're going to talk all about it, Denver sports, here on the Well, I will say, for both of us living here in Denver, Josh, not quite the ending we would have wanted for the Denver Broncos, but a way to kind of close this is the team won the AFC West for the first time in a long time. But then, you look at Bo Nix, you look at the rest of this roster. I mean, the team, I think, really did outstanding things. So when you kind of recap and think back into what this season was, what kind of stood out to you as far as what they've done very well in and what they need to now address come this offseason? Because there's a lot to think about. Oh, no sound? Uh-oh.
I'm not hearing you, man. Sorry about that. I heard your spots, so I can't hear you right now.
Okay, hang on. Let's see. We got some technical difficulties. Hold on. Uh-oh.
Try without these.
All right, we're getting some technical difficulties fixed up from here. All right, can you hear me now? Oh, I can't hear him on the sound. Oh, wait, hold up. He's muted. Hold on. Let me see. See if I can get it. Oh. All right, we're getting some technical difficulties, but once we get him back up, yeah, there was a lot to really kind of think about with the Denver Broncos season, because Bo Nix, I mean, he's got his first playoff win, took a team and got them to 14-3. And to me, I think Denver, there was also some things that kind of went a little bit south. Drake Greenlaw, I mean, he's been dealing with injuries. There's been talks about, could he possibly be somebody that maybe will let go for Denver? But I mean, the offensive line, they're going to pay up on that. They've been very good as far as the pass, the run, and just where they've been all season long. So to me, I think the Denver Broncos, all right, let's see. So hold that thought until we end up getting Josh Dover back up and on here, making sure all of our stuff is working up well. Let's see. Yeah, we apologize for the delay there, guys, as we're getting Josh Dover back up and on here onto the show. But I think the team, I mean, they led the league in sacks. They also were one of the best pass defensive teams. And even though like the scoring, they were top 5 in scoring. So they knew how to limit a lot of their opponents. But there was times where you had some games like the Giants, even the Commanders, where it felt like it could have gotten worse. But we also know this too. Denver, they're happy because number one is they're no longer in the Russell Wilson business. So they now are done with that, and they've got $28 million to spend. So it's little, but there's a little bit of a return in investment at the end of it. All right. So let's see if we can work this one here. All right. Can you hear me now, Josh?
I got you now, actually.
Beautiful. All right. Well, so here's what I was saying. It was not the ending that Denver fans, living here that they wanted, but it doesn't take away from the outstanding season that they had all season long. I mean, Bo Nix gets his first playoff win. This defense is phenomenal, leading the league in sacks, top 5 in scoring. What do you kind of take out of recapping the season that they've done so well and then focusing now on what they need to do in the offseason? Because now you promoted Davis Webb as an offensive coordinator. Because to me, these screenplays, I kept saying they need to stretch the field. You can't be just going less than 20 each time. If you want to be aggressive, you got to stretch it. So what do you think is the offseason plan for Denver?
Yeah, no, look, it's easier to be optimistic and positive, further and further we get away from the Super Bowl, of course. So, yeah, you can look back at 14 wins, at, a couple of breakout players. You saw RJ was able to prove to be a threat in the passing game. Obviously, as you mentioned, that defense is just outstanding and it's not going anywhere. So they're only going to add to that side of the football. So, yeah, there's some positives to take away. Bo Nix was a second-year quarterback. He's won, 24 games in the regular season, won his first playoff game. So not only have they in 2 years experienced the postseason, they experienced a loss, how you recover and bounce back from that. They experienced a win, and then, the emotional kick in the nuts, if you will, of the Bo Nix breaking of his ankle. So, yeah, they accomplished a ton, and it still doesn't feel like that's been good enough. So they're going to have a bunch of money to spend in this offseason. We've been doing it on the radio show, building Bo's board and all these different pieces and players that George Payton can go out there and grab with a little bit of extra money. VJ got last year's first-round draft pick, last year's kind of free agency class, right, with Huff and Greenlaw coming around. So maybe this year it's Sean's turn with a little bit of extra money, a little bit more draft capital, and some more proof that Bo Nix is the dude that you build around.
And you know what? Denver fans got to feel very happy of the fact that they got the return in investment because they're no longer in the Russell Wilson business. Now they can start getting a little bit more in their back pockets. So I know a lot of it was there were some playmakers. Now you got Pat Bryant going into his second year. You bring in Evan Ingram. Is there any talks as far as offensive weaponry? I know wide receiver's been a conversation, and you got Cortland Sutton. Now there's been some buzzes. What's kind of the topic on that? Because I know they want to take the extra step of what worked this past season and further build it for next year.
See, it's interesting because we talked about, I just mentioned it, the money that they have, but they also have that young wide receiver room. I know Cortland Sutton's, the old guy in NFL terms, but I think he still has a couple of 1,000-yard seasons in him. He had a quiet 1,000-yard season this year because you got to have a ton of safety help, bracket coverage on his side of the field because there wasn't really a major threat in the middle of the field because they don't have a freaking tight end that can take attention in the middle of the field. So if you look at going and spending some of your free agency money on a wide receiver, what's that do to Pat Bryant? What's that do to Troy Franklin? By the way, Troy Franklin looked like he was on his way to a 1,000-yard season first 8-9 weeks of it and then kind of dropped off. So if you go get one of these free agent wide receivers, Alec Pierce is probably a little bit out of the price range. I know Romeo Doubs is a guy we've talked about. He's going to cost you a little less, but how much better is Romeo Doubs right now than what Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant could be by the end of the year if there's no one blocking their development and their progress? So I think where you spend some of that money is a tight end and a running back. Again, I'm a little hesitant on running back because I know who the coach is, and that dude doesn't. He writes "run it" on the top of his play sheet and still doesn't do it. So, how much money do you want to give him in that room? But a tight end, if they're not willing to eat the contract, you could save some money on a post June 1 release of Evan Ingram, but it's still going to hurt you a little bit in the pocketbook and on the dead cap. But if they're willing to eat some of that and then go spend some of the money on a tight end, David Njoku says he's not going back to Cleveland. I really love Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert scored 11 touchdowns this year, Jake, and 8 of them came inside the 5 yard line. And they're
That's
doing
right.
it with pitches and shovels and things like that, like Joker stuff that Sean promised us with Evan Ingram and we never got. So if I got to pick, I'd spend some money on tight end and I'd take a little bit of that leftover dough and put it in the running back room.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts is also another name that's
Yeah.
being thrown up out there. So should be interesting. A final thought before we move forward and talk about the Nuggets. So picture this: the AFC West now all has offensive coaches with Clint Kubiak now in Vegas. The Broncos, they move on from Joe Lombardi, and here's the thing: as much as I respect his game, there was just some of it that I'm like, these screenplays would drive me crazy if I'm a Denver fan, because it's like, you got to stretch the field one way or another. And then the Chargers just got their new OC with Mike McDaniel. The Chiefs are bringing back Eric Bieniemy, a familiar offense. Preview me what we should be looking at when it comes to Davis Webb. There's been lots of great talks. He's been very comfortable and confident with Bo Nix in that room, talking and discussing plays. Are we going to expect a little bit more of the playbook to open on top of what Sean Payton kind of brings into the table?
I hope, and I hope that he gets the chance to call those plays. Sean still hasn't decided upon that. I think it's going to be like a little trial period where he'll get to do it in the preseason, and then Sean will take it back over to start the regular season as soon as maybe there's a wall that's been hit or some complaints from the fan base. Then that's when you'll see that change happen. But as far as Davis Webb, I mean, look at the potential. He called a preseason game last year, and in fact, it was the one time that Evan Ingram made an impact in a game, although it was a preseason game. So he's just more of a modern day quarterback. I mean, dude, he was playing quarterback in the league just a few years ago, right? And I know Sean likes to bring up his old quarterback days. That was in the 80s, right? So things have changed a little bit. So it'll be just a new voice, somebody that's familiar with modern day defenses, modern day wide receivers, how to capitalize on the middle of the field and the use of a tight end. So I hope it goes that way. I don't think it's going to be from the jump, like I said earlier, but I think once Davis Webb gets the opportunity, you'll see the offense open up a little bit more. He's just not that Sean's out of touch or washed, but like he's just a little more up to date with what the modern NFL game looks like.
Absolutely, yeah. And the game's evolving, the game's constantly changing. And so you want to be ahead of the game and the curve. And especially with how creative these offenses are. I mean, you look at a bunch of teams that have been experimenting on this and it's been successful. Kansas City with their reigns, when they've been doing it for years. I mean, that's the one hope, is that they want to get on top of that, especially with the competitors like that have been doing it for a while. So we had the trade deadline. I'm so happy to get back into NBA talk. It's been quite a while. So Giannis not moving, staying in Milwaukee. There's been a bunch of teams that's been kind of shaking and rattling up their rosters. But here's the thing: I have always trusted Denver. Once they got out of the Michael Porter business, I was like, they're opening up a little more of what I hoped they would. Get the bench rolling, get some points and score on the perimeter, attack it. So right now, Denver, they're kind of cruising a bit at the spot that they're in, even with OKC and San Antonio. So I know the West is going to look competitive with the best teams there, but then there's also some surprises. What did you kind of take out of the trade deadline? Did you feel like there were teams that wanted to upgrade and look a lot different than what they did before? Or is there kind of some teams that we kind of hope we should have had these players moved, but of course, contract talks and the expenses? What did you make of it?
I mean, the trade deadline in the NBA is usually a big buzz, right? There's some star power moving. I'm not sure Anthony Davis is the star power that maybe he thinks or the league thinks he is, but obviously him going to Washington, they stink. That they're in some trouble over there anyway. But as far as the Nuggets go, I mean, you look at they moved Tyson Hunter. Hunter Tyson is what I like to call him because I can never remember his real name. Um, That's a move to save some money. It's a move that allows them to be players in future trade markets, because what they did there is they got themselves under this repeater tax line. That repeater tax line, one, costs money. The Cronkies aren't going to pay that tab. That's just not who they are. And two, it really limits what you can do in the buyout market, which we're going to see. There already been, conversations about a guy like Lonzo Ball in the buyout market for the Denver Nuggets. I really hope they keep an eye on a dude like Mike Conley in the buyout market, and we'll see what happens right there. But what else that trade did was it allowed them to move future draft picks on non-draft nights. So they were stuck in this tax world where you could only trade draft picks on draft night. And getting out of this kind of luxury tax, it's a repeater tax is what it's actually called, but a luxury tax bill, you can now move some more of those picks. So it just allows Ben Tinzer and John Wallace, the new front office there, to be more flexible moving forward. And I think that's the biggest key, because you mentioned it. When they're stuck with Michael Porter Jr. and Joker and Jamal and these max contracts on a roster that just eat up your cap, you really don't have any room for flexibility, and your owners have to pay a big tax, which KSE is not going to do. So it was a win-win. The front office did a great thing for ownership and a great thing for this roster, because there's some flexibility on it now. They have 2 roster spots. One of them is going to go to Spencer Jones, and they have to do that before February 17th. They will. And then another one, like I said, a buyout market, a free roster spot, and they'll go get a vet that can help them down the stretch.
Because to me, there's been a couple teams in the West that I know have been surprises. I mean, the Spurs, we knew getting a jump the minute that Wemby started getting into his own and then started to take the next steps. Then Stephon Castle and a bunch of them, I felt like this was going to be a team really getting aggressive. I mean, they've been very defensive since, the Popovich years, and now they're still continuing that, but they're getting better at scoring. But of course, too, there's even been some teams that have been disappointments. James Harden moving from LA to now going to Cleveland. I just feel like this business now, like with him and Kawhi, this just wasn't going to work. The Clippers now they have to find themselves really coming to realization, you can't build around a guy that can't speak. Okay. If he's not there commanding and really taking the lead by storm, this is just not going to work for some teams. Was there ever a team that surprised you the most throughout this season that we could see moving forward if they make the playoffs or going to, that this team might not be somebody to play around with?
I mean, you mentioned San Antonio. They weren't crazy active at the deadline. There's a report now, Sashawn Wright just got bought out. He wasn't playing much anyway, so he'll be someone that these championship teams will chase. I think San Antonio is a real threat. I thought it might be another year before they were at this level, but Wemby, and I love that you mentioned Castle, because that dude's a stud too. He can do it on both ends of the floor. They're just a really, really good basketball team. Houston hasn't really come on like strong, like maybe a lot of people thought they would, but they're still going to be a problem in the postseason with Kevin Durant's experience and then that young talent around him. OKC's still a monster. They're going to be a problem. And then on the East, you talk about James Harden. It's nice right now. He's in his honeymoon phase. James Harden does this. This is like his calendar of an NBA player. Get a max contract, play that max contract out. Tell the team that gave you the max contract, if you don't give me another one, you have to trade me. They trade him. He goes and plays really good for the first few weeks on that new team, gets a max contract, and then the vicious cycle starts all over again. So that's what's going to happen in Cleveland, and they're Cleveland, so they're never really going to get over that hump anyway. Detroit on the East is a really, really good basketball team. Are they too young right now? Perhaps. Can they keep Darian Stewart from beating everybody up on the bench? That's another question. And then Boston. Jason Tatum's about to start practicing with the Boston G League team. Let's see what that looks like by the end of the season, too. So I say San Antonio, OKC in the West, Boston, Detroit in the East.
Love it, man. And you know what? Cade Cunningham and them in Detroit, man, what a turnaround that it's been for them, because they've been needing it for quite a while. And now to see them on top of the East is just crazy. I couldn't even sink it in. I'm just like, wow, this competitive. I can't wait for what the playoffs may look like. So men's hockey started today, and now we got our Team USA for tomorrow. Now, here in Denver, the Avs have been looking outstanding, but they have kind of came into a little bit of some ruts. How did you kind of see with this team? Because we know the difficult challenges You got a lot of players that are leaving for the Olympics and competing, and then eventually coming back to the team. And then now you got to turn it into full gear again as we get ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. So what is something that the Avs, they're prepared for, or something that they really would have to address as we know the trade deadline's coming up here in the span of the months?
Yeah, I think they'll have 6 games when they get back before the trade deadline, and they still are awful on the power play. Ironically enough, Landy scored a power play goal today for his country, Sweden, right? So maybe he can bring some of that back. And when he gets back on the ice for the Avs, that might help some of their power play woes as well. But I know who Chris McFarland is. I think Avs fans know who Chris McFarland is. That dude, if he does not think the roster is right, he's going to do anything he can to make it right in his mind. I don't think there are major upgrades that needed to be made. Honestly, I'm not sure any changes need to be made outside of maybe the power play coach and Dave Haxtell, but that doesn't look like that's going to go down. Maybe Jared can tinker with some of the lines that he has, specifically on that power play, to see if you can get some more out of it. But I'm not sure a lot needs to change. You said it. I mean, we went 3 or 4 months before they lost a regular season game. We went 3 or 4 months before they lost at Ball Arena. So I'm kind of a believer of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not going to panic over like a week, 2 week stretch of what the Avs have looked like going into the break and change everything after the break.
And I'll tell you, this year has been stacked with sporting events because of the fact that we have the Olympics, we got the World Cup that's coming in the next couple months. Then, you have the World Baseball Classic to start the year. And it's funny, I had a couple of former MLB stars who we talked about, does the league really need a salary cap? Because here's what I believe is one, I look at the owners. If my ownership's not spending the money, I'm not going to get mad at the fact that, well, we can't compete with the Dodgers because they keep getting away with a lot of things. But I say they built a model. They figured out how to manipulate the money in a sense with the deferred comps. I mean, you saw with the Kyle Tucker contract. Here's the thing. They signed him for the amount for 240. Meanwhile, here's Toronto that wanted 350 for him. And yet he took the Dodgers anyway. So it's like there's a whole plethora of it. And I look at the Rockies and I'm just like, Chris Bryant, again, on a 60-day IL, I'm just like, when are we going to move off from this contract? And at the same time, does this league really need a salary cap? And why? Because to me, if you put a salary cap, it's going to benefit more of the owners, i.e. Dick Momford. And you need to spend this money, even in a competitive division as the NL West is, because if you can't spend, there's really nothing to show for other than you love playing in Denver. Coors Field is a gorgeous field to play. We want some competitive, juice in this building.
Yeah, I'll go to Chris Bryant first. Dude, he's played, I think the number's 170 games of a possible 648. It's pathetic. The signing of him was about perception anyway, and they lost that battle that they were trying to win. Walker's taken over. Walker could cut him right now and eat the rest of the money and be the biggest thing a Montfort's done in the city in 10 years. So I don't know why it hasn't happened. I don't know why they won't do that. He's never going to come back. And if he does come back, he's not going to be in the lineup long enough to contribute. And I'm not sure even has anything left in the tank to contribute. So they need to cut their losses. It would do a lot for their perception with the fan base, but we'll see if they actually do it. And then in baseball, I mean, as far as the salary cap goes, I feel a little strange to be like, yeah, punish the rich guys that do it the right way. Doesn't that seem weird? Because we can hate the Dodgers as much as we want, but that's what they do. They're rich and they do it the right way, and they're competitive every year because they care about being competitive. While other owners, and yeah, it happens here in Colorado, are dependent upon revenue sharing from those clubs. That's how they make their payroll. So I don't think the guys that are at the top doing it right should have to hold the hands of the guys at the bottom that can't figure it out. So do they need to do something? Yeah. But punish the rich dudes that want to win? I don't think that's the right thing.
No, 100%. And I feel like, because I watched this in Pittsburgh, which luckily they made a signing of Marcell Ozuna, and now they're amping up the roster because they know this time is coming. And if you ain't getting,
and they're about to lose Paul if they don't do something.
Exactly. So in order to make it up, you got to find a way to buy these fans into the idea of, listen, we want to be competitive because we know we lose this star, we got nothing else to look forward to than our farm system. So I think they're finally getting that. But that's the one thing I look at, the Rockies, the Nationals, and everybody, that you got to find a way to buy these fans into that idea. But I just kept saying, it's like, if you put a salary cap on this is when the lockout starts. I feel like you need to have a maximum amount or a minimum amount of the spending cost. Because if you're not spending in that threshold, something has to give with that ownership. And then maybe you might have to look at different ownerships from here. So who knows? I just feel like, I wouldn't want to punish the Dodgers, because the Dodgers, I mean, what's funny is in the last 25 years, there's only been 7 teams that have been number 1 in all of Major League Baseball who won a World Series. So that's why I'm like, anything could really happen. So it should be interesting. But I mean, we got pitchers, catchers report, the World Baseball Classic. Let's just see. I'm going to be going to a couple games because I love being there, in Coors Field. But I would much rather be up in Ball Arena. I still got to catch a Nuggets game, in my opinion, because I've never catched an NBA game. So I'll be pretty active come the next couple of months. But Josh, appreciate you for coming on by. And once again, folks, if you're in the Denver area and you love the sports, you love the entertainment, give 104.3 Denver Sports a shout out from here and listen in. Josh is always talking and expressing what's on his mind here for all of Denver sports. Appreciate you for coming on by, man. Take care of yourselves. And let's see what the Nuggets got up and in stored. And hopefully if the Avs, Chris McFarland, like you said, he's a wizard at this. Let's see what moves that he makes for the Avs to be competitive come the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me on. Always enjoy the conversation. Have a great night.
Absolutely, man. All right. Yeah. I mean, something's got to give. Like I've always said is, the Nuggets and the Avalanche, they've been playing very, very well. The only thing is that Colorado, they need to fix up on their power plays. They haven't been playing well on that. Defensively, they played well. They got capable offensive scorers, so something needs to give. But as I've said before, I'm just going to keep asking this question to a lot of people because I love to hear what their mindsets are on this, because this is a big deal. You don't want to be constantly bashing and punishing the rich guys that are doing it right, that they don't. I thought that was perfect. I got to clip that, because that there definitely tells you a lot of these other owners, they're just hanging on the hands of the Dodgers ownership that know how to do it right. So something has to change from here. But man, what a great conversation. Absolutely loved it. All righty, folks, we're going to take a slight break up from here. When we come back, our top 10 NFL teams amongst the head coaching hires, now that all of them are filled, I give out my thoughts, my breakdown of every one of these coaching hires, because it is going to be interesting to watch these teams for the 2026 season and what we should expect to see from all these organizations and what they address up from here. So don't go anywhere here on the Snake Sports Talk Show.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
Oh, man, we've had what a week it's been. And you know what? You couldn't have asked for a better week than itself. I mean, it's always a great week. Shout out to Chris Collier, Tavon Smith, and Josh Dover being here with us today. All right, folks. Well, it's the fun time I always do. Now, again, I always do the top 10 teams every week, and it's been a hit all throughout the entire NFL season. Now, this one is different. This is going to be fun because we have our top 10 NFL teams, but more into the head coaching hires. And I'll be posting them up and on all socials to give you an idea of what these will look like. So this is based upon the quality of hire, the rosters that they've got going into it, and what we should expect. Are they going to be better, or is it kind of, in my opinion? So that's what I'm breaking down as far as these top 10 coaching hires. So here we go. Top 10 NFL teams. Let's get after it.
Rank them up.
Yeah, it's time.
Let's go, baby. It's on time right now. The top 10 NFL teams, according to Jake. Number 10.
Number 10 is Jeff Hafley and the Miami Dolphins. So, first of all, Jeff Hafley, he's a very good defensive-minded coach, but here's the deal. The Miami Dolphins, they've got to figure out quarterback. And the other thing is, I feel like with the Green Bay system, they may end up potentially swaying someone like Malik Willis to come to Miami. Or maybe another competent quarterback to come into there. Because here's the deal. Tua Tagovailoa just was not really the answer. And a lot of executives had told you that the minute that they ended up drafting him. And that's the part that we know is frustrating for Miami fans. But I love Devin Achane. I love with what they did in some of the defensive spots, but they could definitely upgrade a few. I got Miami at 10 with Jeff Hafley as the high.
Number 9.
Number 9, I gotta be honest, it's Pittsburgh. Mike McCarthy coming here, to me, in my opinion, could fix up some things and maybe get them a little bit more consistent. But I'll be honest with you, Mike McCarthy, in his days at Green Bay and in his days in Dallas, I felt like the offensive playbook felt a lot more like Kellen Moore and for Schottenheimer. I think, to me, Mike McCarthy, he's going to need a competent offensive coordinator for this. Now, the defense, they really need to shake things up. I've been saying this all throughout the entirety of the season that they should have traded away TJ Watt to get picks, to get capital, and fix up your offensive line, because this is not going to be sustainable for very long. And not to mention, you got to have a healthier run game. Now, they've been talking about potentially having Aaron Rodgers back. I don't know how true that is, but I just feel like this was kind of a wonky hire, but I got him at 9.
Number 8.
Number 8, I feel like this is kind of interesting. Mike LaFleur to the Arizona Cardinals, because if there's anything that Arizona, they did well at after Jonathan Gannon's departure, which I thought was interesting. I thought they would have given him another year, but that's not the case. But Mike LaFleur, like his brother Matt LaFleur, the thing is you're going to have an offensive competent team with Arizona, but here's what you need to get to work. You need to fix up the route runs with Marvin Harrison Jr. because you want to lean more into his strengths. Michael Wilson's a hit. Trey McBride is a hit. This ground game with James Conner and hopefully with Trey Benson and the offensive line with Paris Johnson, I mean, it's better, but you got to really take advantage of it. And at the same time, defensively, they've been letting go of a bunch of plays. So that's where I think Mike LaFleur is going to get the right guy in this building to really make it work out. But I think with an offensive-minded coach, I think this feels more competent than anything than the last time they had an offensive coach in Cliff Kingsbury. But this relationship with Kyler Murray looks done. I got him at 8 for the time being until I see who their quarterback is for next year.
Number 7.
Number 7, I've got Todd Monken and the Cleveland Browns. I know people are probably going to ask me, why do I have him at 7? Well, first of all, Todd Monken's competent in his own certain way. But the truth of the matter is that, you can't deny that Cleveland defense is really good. But they need to get better at it because now Jim Schwartz is no longer in the building. I just feel like this is so wonky with Cleveland because now, is your quarterback going to be Shedeur Sanders? Who is going to start as QB1? I feel like with Todd Monken, he's been around with Lamar Jackson, knows a mobile quarterback, accurate quarterback at that point, but you really got to now take it up a notch and start buttoning some things up. So that means you get the ground game going with Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, and also you got to fix up the offensive line because Joel Bitonio is probably going to be retiring. And who knows what moves could be made up from here. So Cleveland's got a lot to think about, but I feel like with the competency, defensively, they can make it work. But offensively, let's get some points up on the board to be competitive.
Number 6.
The number 16, to me, I think this is a really good hire is Clint Kubiak to the Raiders because number 1 is you got the number 1 overall pick. You got way over $100 million in cap space. Now, the only thing is, what do you do about Max Crosby? I feel like the buzz right now is he's not happy, and I think it's finally getting to him. And if you're the Raiders, I'd be taking advantage of trading him and getting some picks and capital because at the end, I could get a star pass rusher. I could get some guys that even if I could trade up with the team to maybe potentially get the hot commodity pass rusher and really fix up this defense as well as I can because you need the best level-minded guys in this building to make it consistent. And Clint Kubiak, I talked with Chris Collier earlier on the program here on Monday, and he's amped up. He's excited amongst every other player that's also in this building to get the offense rolling with playmakers, but defensively, they really have to get better than this. I got him at 6. I think it's a really good hire, but let's see what happens.
Number 5.
Number 5 is the Buffalo Bills with promoting Joe Brady, because here's the thing. Joe Brady, it feels a lot like it's a safer promotion upgrade because Josh Allen, it's all geared to his comfortability. But the Buffalo Bills, they know that they have to get better in certain spots and different details on the roster because defensively, there were times where they were letting up points and there were times where they didn't even feel like a shutdown defense. So I think Buffalo, the other thing that they also have to come into fruition is that wide receiving core because Khalil Shakir's really good, but who else are you going to end up building up upon because Keon Coleman is just not making this work out. So I think with this, the Bills, they really got to fix some things up, but Joe Brady feels like a pretty good hire in my opinion.
Number 4.
Number 4, and I really do enjoy this hire because I think this helps to rejuvenate the team, and that's Jesse Minter to the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, under the Harbaughs, in the Harbaugh tree, Jesse Minter, smart, young, and this is kind of a cloning of Mike McDonald in a sense because Mike was your best defensive-minded coach as a DC, goes in and wins a Super Bowl with Seattle, and then you bring in Jesse Minter, who under 2 years under Jim Harbaugh had the number 1 scoring defense, had the number 2 red zone defense, and they were outstanding with the 4-2-5s and the 4-3 defenses. So I think this is a really good opportunity for Baltimore to rejuvenate. They're passing on the torch from John Harbaugh, and now Jesse Minter, I think, is going to get the best with a lot of his players, fix up this defense, but it also gives some confidence for someone like Lamar Jackson. I got him at 4.
Number 3.
The number 3 hire, in my opinion, I think is really good as the Tennessee Titans and Robert Saleh, because to me, not only did they get Saleh, but they also ended up getting Brian Daboll. They really are trying to work on the offensive side of the ball, but they also are trying to fix up what they lost because Mike Vrabel was just in a Super Bowl with New England. They fumbled up a defensive-minded coach who really knew defense and really knew how to shut down opposing offenses. So Tennessee has an opportunity with this, with Robert Saleh and with Brian Daboll, who worked with Josh Allen and worked with a bunch of other quarterbacks, knows and hopefully will only have the control of the offensive scheme plan. And that way Cam Ward will get some weapons. He'll get a healthy run game, at least to fix up what was once lost in Tennessee and hopefully rejuvenate it back again.
Number 2.
Number 2, it's the Atlanta Falcons and Kevin Stefanski, because here's the thing. Kevin Stefanski was a 2-time coach of the year in Cleveland, a wonky organization. But here's the other thing too, is Atlanta, you got to make Michael Penix work. And at the same time, you're cutting the ties with Kirk Cousins, because that was a ridiculous money. And when Terry Fontenot, the way that he basically put together this roster, not great, not good news as far as with James Pierce Jr., but they really have to fix up this roster because it's not looking as great. So I think with the Falcons, they really got to work this up well, but I love the hire of Kevin Stefanski.
Number 1.
Finally, the New York Giants with John Harbaugh feels right to me. I think because of this hire, it really rejuvenates them, and it really does give them an opportunity to shape up a culture, which Tom Coughlin and them, it wasn't really looking well afterwards, and they really had to move off from all these coordinators. So to me, I like this hire. I love this hire. Jackson Dart, Cam Scatabo, Malik Neighbors, they're going to rejuvenate this Giants team because the G-Men has been a long time coming for them. They're going to get healthier, they're going to get better, and they're going to get much more consistent and double up their wins. There you go. Top 10 teams up from here. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to have everything posted up here for you guys. That's going to do it here for our show here today. Got to run, but appreciate everybody for being here. Next week, we got more interviews along the way. More to talk about as we're shifting into the NBA, NHL talk. Now that the season has come to a close in the NFL, but still little talks as free agency comes up around the corner. Appreciate everybody for coming on by. Shout out to Josh Dover of 104.3 Denver Sports for being here. Really appreciate you guys. We got to run. Appreciate all of you. Take care.